Hello, everybody. This is Rod, the Brazilian English teacher, and welcome to Rod's podcast. Today, I decided to read a story by Madonna from her children's book called Mr. Peabody's Apples. It was released in 2003, and I hope you like it because I think this story is not only for children, but also for grown-ups. And I'm going to start reading the book to you right now. Thank you so much. And please subscribe to this channel because we are really close to 500 friends, and I'm really happy with it, okay? Thank you so much. Mr. Peabody's Apples by Madonna. In the town of Happyville, which wasn't a very big town, Mr. Peabody was congratulating his little league team on a great game. They had not won, but no one really cared because they'd had such a good time playing. Mr. Peabody was the history teacher at the local elementary school, and in the summertime, he dedicated every Saturday to organizing baseball games with other schools. Billy Little, who wasn't a very big boy, was one of Mr. Peabody's students. He loved baseball more than anything and thought Mr. Peabody was the greatest. After each game, he would always stay to help pick up the bats and balls. And when they were finished, Mr. Peabody would smile and say, "Thanks, Billy. Good job. I'll see you next Saturday." Then he would start his walk home along the main street of Happyville, which wasn't a very big street, waving hello to everybody he knew, and everyone would wave hello back. Along the way, he always passed Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market. Here, Mr. Peabody would stop and admire Mr. Funkadeli's fresh apples. He would pick out the shiniest apple, drop it in his bag, and continue on his way. Across the street, Tommy Tittlebottom watched with curiosity as Mr. Peabody walked away with the apple. "That's strange," Tommy said to himself. "Mr. Peabody didn't pay anyone for the apple." Tommy got on his skateboard and rushed to tell his friends. The following Saturday, Mr. Peabody's team played another game, and they lost, as usual. But no one seemed to care because they had such a good time playing. Billy picked up the balls and bats, and Mr. Peabody set off on his walk home. He waved to everyone he knew, and they waved back. Once again, he stopped outside Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market, picked up the shiniest apple, dropped it in his bag, and continued on his way. Across the street, Tommy Tittlebottom and his friends watched Mr. Peabody, and they were amazed at what they saw. Mr. Peabody had not paid for his apple. They couldn't wait to tell all of their other friends, who told their parents, who told their neighbors, who told their friends in the town of Happyville. The Saturday after that, Mr. Peabody was standing all alone on the baseball field, wondering where everybody was. Then he saw Billy walking toward him with a sad look on his face. "Hello, Billy. I'm glad you're here, but where is the rest of the team?" asked Mr. Peabody. Billy remained silent. "What is it, Billy?" he asked again. Billy didn't look up. "Everybody thinks you're a thief," he said to the ground. Mr. Peabody looked confused. He took off his hat, scratched his head. "Who says I'm a thief, Billy? And what did I steal?" he said. "Tom Tittlebottom and his friends said they saw you take an apple from Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market twice, and they said you didn't pay for it," answered Billy. "Ah," said Mr. Peabody, putting his hat back on his head. "Let's go and talk to Mr. Funkadeli about it, shall we?" They walked down the main street, which wasn't a very big street, and Mr. Peabody waved to all of the people he knew. But now some of them did not wave back, and some pretend they did not even see him. They finally arrived at Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market. Out popped Mr. Funkadeli, who said, "Hey, what are you doing here, Mr. Peabody? Why aren't you at the game?" "There wasn't a game today," said Mr. Peabody, "and I was wondering if I could take my apple earlier than usual." "Sure, why not?" replied Mr. Funkadeli. "You pay for them every Saturday morning when you pick up your milk." You can take them when you like. You want the big shiny one, Mr. Peabody? Mr. Peabody took his apple, smiled, and offered to Billy. I would like to take the apple, Mr. Peabody, but I have to go and find Tommy and explain everything, said Billy. When you find him, ask him to come over to my house. I would like to speak to him too, replied Mr. Peabody. A little while later, Billy found Tommy and told him what had happened with the apples. He told Tommy that Mr. Peabody wanted to speak to him right away. So off Tommy went, and when he arrived, he rang the doorbell, and Mr. Peabody came to the door. They looked at each other for a while. Oh dear, Mr. Peabody, said Tommy on the doorstep. I didn't understand. I should not have said what I said, but it looked like you hadn't paid for the apples. Mr. Peabody's eyebrows went up a little, and he felt a warm breeze blow across his face. It doesn't matter what it looked like. What matters is the truth. Tommy looked down at his shoes and said, I'm so sorry. What can I do to make things better now? Mr. Peabody took a deep breath, looked up at a small cloud that was in the sky, and said, I'll tell you what, Tommy. Meet me at the baseball diamond in 1 hour and bring a pillow stuffed with feathers. Okay, said Tommy, who then ran off his house to get the pillow. An hour later, Tommy met Mr. Peabody on the pitcher's mound. Hello, Tommy, said Mr. Peabody. Follow me and bring your pillow. Tommy followed Mr. Peabody to the top of the bleachers, wondering what this was all about. It's a windy day, isn't it? Asked Mr. Peabody. When they reached the top, Tommy nodded his head in agreement. Here is a pair of scissors. Now cut the pillow in half and shake the feathers out. Tommy looked confused, but he did it anyway. He thought it was a small price to pay to gain Mr. Peabody's forgiveness. The wind carried the thousands of feathers far and wide. Tommy looked relieved and said, Is that all I have to do to make things better? There's one more thing, said Mr. Peabody. Now you must go and pick up all the feathers. Tommy frowned. I don't think it's possible to pick up all the feathers, Tommy replied. It would be just impossible to undo the damage that you have done by spreading the rumor that I'm a thief, said Mr. Peabody. Each feather represents a person in happy view. There was a long pause, and Tommy began to understand what Mr. Peabody was saying. Finally he said, I guess I have a lot of work ahead of me. Mr. Peabody smiled and said, Indeed, you do. Next time, don't be so quick to judge a person. And remember the power of your words. Then he handed Tommy the shiny red apple and made his way home. The end. So I think this story is one of the most beautiful stories that I've heard, and it teaches a very valuable lesson. Don't judge before knowing the real facts. I hope you liked it. Please leave it in the comments if you like the story. I think it's a very good book. I used to read it to my oldest son when he was little and explain the story. So don't rush to judgment. Ask first. Alright? I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much.